In this installment of Trump Teachings, we look at the Tempo Mage. Tempo Mage is another one of these straightforwardly good decks. It controls the board early. It gets a lot of value out of Flamewaker and Archmage Antonidas in specific in combination with all the spells. Sorcerer's Apprentice does some serious work since all the cheap spells are reduced. You keep up the fuel with the Arcane Intellects, the Azure Drix. You finish big with Archmage Antonidas. There are a lot of different ways to build this deck, but the overall core idea is always the same. You use cheap spells in order to efficiently kill their higher mana cards, and you just try to maintain the board advantage with early game mana worms which grow out of control, with really efficient mad scientist mirror entities, with Flamewakers which deals something like 8 damage. You draw 3 fireballs. Noteworthy different cards to include here. Toshli in particular is kind of interesting, but perhaps more commonly seen as a Paladin Shredder or even a counter spell. This deck version is only running 2 Mirror Entity and 2 Mad Scientist. Many people will add in a counter spell just as the third secret or a duplicate in order to not whiff on the Mad Scientist as much. Some people play a more aggressive version with 2 Arcane Missiles and 2 Mirror Image. Some people play a more defensive version with Sludge Belchers and Flame Strike. Some people play a more secret heavy version with Kirin Mages and more secrets. But all in all, the general concept remains the same, where it's called Tempo Mage because you're playing really cheap, efficient spells and minions to be able to out-tempo the opponent. Your lower cost spells will trade for their higher cost minions. That's the idea, at least.
Victory or death!
You asked for it.
Against Warrior in specific, the Mirror Image is amazing because it cuts out their fiery Winx. So, in the early game, you're looking for the early game cards. Usually you wouldn't keep Mirror Image, but this is specifically a Warrior. And I've got pretty much the dream here. Going with the coin is really good as well. So you coin out the Mirror Image so that the Mana Worm doesn't get destroyed by Fiery Warx, and then this Mana Worm is going to do something insane. Like, I'm going to do a rough estimate. The Mana Worm will deal 15 damage this game. What Tempo Mage does best is putting out a big threat, or even a smaller threat like Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then because of their cheap spells, they're able to just constantly remove the opponent's board and then like keep pushing in for 3 damage a turn. Sometimes in the dream scenario, you get this Mana Worm early game, and you do a lot more damage than expected. I have to watch out for the Brawl a bit, but it's early enough game that I'm willing to play the Flamewaker also. So many big threats. This is gonna pretty much be a stomp. Sometimes Tempo Mage just gets these really strong starts and there's nothing you can do. Against this specific deck, which requires you to use a weapon to hit something, I have the Mirror Images to block. There's so many threats to remove here. It's like, do you kill the Mana Worm? Do you kill the Flamewaker? Refuels with Arcane Intellect, discounted. Do I want to play Mirror Entity? It might be a little poor just because sometimes against this opponent is playing a deck called Patron Warrior. They can play a ghoul and then you copy the ghoul and your stuff blows up. But in this case, I think it should be good to do this.
Blood and plunder.
It's going to be really rare to get a hand this good with this deck, as a side note. Oh my gosh. Wait, did I win? 7, 10, 13. Oh, well, okay. Okay, so we just saw the ridiculous opening that's possible. Let's play something that's a bit more reasonable this time. I'll get the arcane missiles for later. It's only one, but it does. It's actually better for the late game. You use it in combination with the Flame Waker, and the Flame Cannon isn't that good against Paladin. Mad Scientist, though, that's fine. So, as usual, just trying to get the early game cards and then let them hit for a lot. That was a great draw. I'll go this into Scientist, into Apprentice Flame Cannon, looking like the likely way this goes. I would have kept the missiles if I had the Apprentice also, but I think it's just a bit too difficult to fit into the curve. I'll use that.
I'll show them. I'll show them all. For science.
One of the things to watch out for with this deck is against decks such as... First of all, I have to just take a moment and think about why Paladin's running Ancient Watcher. It's probably for Coghammer. But one of the things to watch out for with this deck is there are a few decks which are going to give you bad cards with Mirror Entity. But that's still fine since that Mirror Entity was basically free. Had to think about either Arcane Intellect or Sorcerer's Apprentice, and I'll just develop the Apprentice now. In the hopes that the next turn I could do Arcane Intellect, Fire Blast, something something. So the opponent slowed us down quite a bit here. Looking actually in good shape for him. The game plan of put something out early, let it stick, play the efficient cards to clear the opponent's stuff isn't quite happening. But still, this deck does have a bit of late game teeth as well. That's what the Archmage Antonidas is there for. And here you start to see the Flame Waker possible goodness. Clockwork Gnome is here partly for the early game, but partly also just because you can get the spare part of Finicky Cloakfield, and then it does a lot of work there. I could go Flame Waker Arcane Missiles, which tends to be a really good play. But I do want to feed the missiles into Archmage Antonidas as an even higher priority. I'll just wait. I'm probably going to cast Flame Waker and Frostbolt at some point.
Follow the rules. Reporting for duty.
One of the big points of power for this deck is just how much damage the Flame Wakers can do. In the deck construction screen I was talking about how it's not uncommon for Flame Wakers to do something like 8 damage sometimes. This is already done 2, it can stay up, he can certainly have True Silver to answer and that would be his best play, but if not then that's kind of rough for him. Like, you can see how a turn of it just surviving would mean I can Fireball, Flame Cannon, Arcane Missiles, and just be able to toss out 6 with it. And if I played the other Flame Waker,
Move quickly.
then played Fireball, Arcane Missiles, that's 8 bolts flying around.
Stratholm will be purged. My shield for Argus.
Opponent's playing a very edgy deck, it appears. Here the Flame Cannon looks like it's going to be very good. No matter what target it hits. And we're just going to start flinging spells. Honestly, kind of disappointing. Alright, I'm willing to toss one of these away, I guess. I've used up most of my spells. Unfortunate. I didn't think it was worth it to rewind the Ancient Watcher because I want to ensure a Fireball. And also, time rewinding the Azure Drake is better. I was running out of spells, so it looks like the Flame Waker wasn't going to be as good moving forward.
Reporting for duty.
I do want to try to keep the Flame Waker alive just a bit more. Okay, he might not have an answer to Archmage Antonidas if I play him right now. The opponent's playing a very offbeat deck here. What are the chances he doesn't have an answer to Archmage? I think it's rather high.
You require my assistance.
It's rarely correct to play it out there, but right after you use an equality and he's a paladin, doesn't seem like there would be too many ways to deal with it.
I see you. Follow the rules. I'll show them. I'll show them all.
Two choices. I can either Fireball the face and set up lethal next turn, or I can Fireball this for board control. He only has 2 cards left. It's like, which one has a higher chance of winning?
Runs out on me.
I think it's really close. The thing to watch out for, of course, in this is it's weak against a card like Anti-Killbot or Lay on Hands or something. But with the amount of strange cards he's playing,
Well played.
I guess I just shrug and go for the face. And there may be ways to deal
My shield for Argus.
deal damage even if he were to heal.
Reporting for duty.
Interesting deck. Oops.
You asked for it. My magic will tear you apart.
Alright, got a mulligan for the early game minions. And you got the Scientist and the Flame Waker. Usually, if you're up against Mage, you make the starting assumption that the Mage is playing Tempo Mage, or Mech Mage, or some sort of aggressive Mage. That's just pretty much the same usual thought that you would use from any deck.
What to do? What to do?
Just because the danger of assuming that they're Freeze Mage and then being wrong based on your mulligan decision, that's often disastrous. Hard to say what type of mage he is so far, but a coin mad scientist tends not to be freeze mage, because that's a really early way to play that. This could still be freeze mage though. I'll play it slow.
I'll show them. I'll show them all.
You don't want to have a slow start against these control decks, especially a heavy control deck like freeze mage, but here there's not much of a better alternative. So here's to hoping that I'll get to beating him down soon enough.
Fools.
I serve the Fire Lord.
That card's going to be ice block because it didn't trigger the ice barrier. One of the big problems of Mirror Entity against this deck is going to be that Doomsayer will copy over to my son, and I will have no way to stop it. So I'm going to have to actually play around that. This is of course really good, but I have to make sure not to... I have to make sure to bait out the Doomsayer first, basically. I think I'm willing to just throw the missiles at him. That is a lot of damage that I'm going to get in now. It's 6 damage to face. The alternative, though, is saving it for Archmage Antonidas. 6 damage to face. If I think that at worst it's going to become 3 damage to face later, I'm doing 1 damage to face. So at worst, this is a 6 minus... At worst, it's a 2 damage mistake. I'll play it safe here. At best, it's like a... It's a significant improvement due to the fireball. So here I can actually get an improvement by playing Azure Drake and then Arcane Missiles. It looks like he's setting up for Flame Strike. I will, well, it's a fireball though. I'm going to actually play this. This is an uncomfortable position because his setup is obviously Flame Strike or Doomsayer is the constant threat. And I can't play the Archmage Antonidas while he just Doomsayers me instantly, I think. I need to save the Archmage Antonidas for the... ideally for the post-Doomsayer phase. The thing that some people are curious about is if he plays Doomsayer, then I copy Doomsayer, which means at the start of my turn everything dies. Which means I could play Antonidas and then Cloakfield it, grab a Fireball, but then he just plays Doomsayer, and he has so many cards that Doomsayer is kind of likely. He did set up for Flame Strike, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have Doomsayer. I think this is enough to trigger him playing Doomsayer, triggering my Mirror Entity, and if it's not, then that's too bad. This is kind of good news for me. Alright, I will grab my 3 fireballs here.
You require my assistance.
So that's kind of good news because he can't play both Doomsayer and Alexstrasza, and this is going to put me in a certain tempo position to be able to win no matter how badly he deals with this. Almost. There's some tricky things he can do. And if he doesn't have Doomsayer, then I'm in really good shape. Probably.
Let the pain speak to me. Let the pain speak to me.
Looks like the opponent doesn't have Doomsayer. But yeah, that's one big thing to watch out for. The mirror entity into the Doomsayer. Alright, so I'm going to be able to break the block here and should be able to win from there. 12. Always break the block as close as possible to him being at 0 health without going over. In this case, it's going to be... I mean, in this case, it's not very important because I can have a 6 damage burst. So...
Don't rush me. To battle.
The reasoning behind playing this so late, as opposed to it being free, is because that turn where I played Archmage Antonidas, I was expecting him to play Doomsayer, which would kill my whole board, so there's no point in playing the free River Croc list there. And the turn before that, I was expecting him to either play Doomsayer or Flame Strike, so there's no reason to play the River Croc list into that either. Here I'm just playing it because I have a full hand. Similar to how I'm going to play Anima Golem, just because I have a full hand.
Bring the pain. To battle. Don't rush me.
So yeah, that's kind of a one win each with all the methods.
Well played.
A win with the late game Antonidas method, a win with the early game, and a win with the unstable portal.
The end is coming.
If he had this like way earlier, he misplayed this game, but I think it came from a draw.
Bring the pain.
So let's see what's behind the portal, I think. Oh my gosh. Sometimes the portal just changes the game completely. Well, alright, we're gonna go all in on this. With the Sorcerer's Apprentice, I'm going to be able to have a pretty efficient turn here.
Someday I'll be just like you.
And this deck has widely varying results based on the goodness of Unstable Portal as well.
Time runs out on me.
Alright. Oops. Oh crap!